In the depths of history, there existed a world where the boundaries between the mundane and the mystical were blurred. These ancient times were a tapestry of pagan beliefs and practices, where nature was revered as a sacred force, and those who held the secrets of herbs and the mysteries of the moon were cherished members of their communities. In civilizations like the Sumerians, Babylonians, and Egyptians, priestesses and priests acted as intermediaries between mortals and the divine. Their rituals invoked blessings from gods and goddesses, healed the sick, and ensured abundant harvests. Nature worship and fertility rites were intertwined with the fabric of life, and the rhythms of the moon guided their spiritual journeys. As the pages of history turned, the influence of the Greco-Roman world painted a new chapter in the story of witchcraft. In Greece, the Thessalian witches practiced their craft, while Rome had its own rituals and beliefs, often labeled as maleficarum. Folk magic and witchcraft were no strangers to these ancient empires. Yet, as Europe transitioned from its pagan roots to the embrace of Christianity, ancient traditions found refuge in the folk practices of the common people. Herbalism, divination, and folk magic persisted, clashing with the rising power of the Church. Christian authorities saw these practices as rivals to the faith and sought to suppress them, casting them as heretical and unholy. The Middle Ages ushered in a new era where witchcraft began to transform in the eyes of society. No longer celebrated for its connection to nature, it became increasingly associated with malevolent magic and heresy. The publication of the Malleus Maleficarum, the Hammer of Witches, in the 15th century was a dark catalyst that fueled the fire of witch hunts. The 16th and 17th centuries saw the infamous witch trials and hunts across Europe and colonial America. Thousands, primarily women, were accused of witchcraft. Fear and paranoia, fueled by religious, social, and political factors, gripped communities. Witch hunts became a dark spectacle, leading to trials, persecution, and executions. But in the heart of this historical storm, there was an awakening. A new understanding of witchcraft emerged, one that sought to reclaim and redefine the term. In the mid-20th century, the modern witchcraft movement, known as Wicca and Neopaganism, breathed life into the old traditions. Witches of this era embraced nature worship, honored the goddess, and practiced rituals and spellcraft with newfound purpose. In a world that had once condemned witches, some saw them as symbols of female empowerment. Feminist witchcraft rose, challenging patriarchal norms and celebrating the strength and wisdom of women. The stigma of witchcraft began to lift, and witches took on a diverse range of roles in contemporary society. In the world of popular culture, witches shed their purely malevolent image and became complex and relatable characters. From the halls of Hogwarts and the Harry Potter series to the enchanting Owen's sisters in Practical Magic, witches became heroines, no longer relegated to the shadows. Online communities and social media platforms became cauldrons of modern witchcraft, where knowledge was shared, connections were made, and stereotypes were challenged. Witchcraft grew diverse and inclusive, welcoming people of all backgrounds, genders, and orientations. In this modern era, witchcraft is no longer a word shrouded in fear and suspicion. It has evolved into a movement that embraces nature, diversity, and personal empowerment. The witches of today are healers, activists, and spiritual seekers, bound by a shared reverence for the mysteries of the natural world and a determination to craft a brighter future. The story of witchcraft is a tapestry woven through time, from ancient pagan rituals to the dark days of witch hunts, and finally to the vibrant and diverse landscape of modern witchcraft. As the story of witchcraft unfolds, we find ourselves drawn deeper into the complexities of this mystical realm, exploring its nuances and witnessing its evolution through the ages. Amidst the mystical currents of history, one chapter stands out with a haunting resonance: the European witch trials of the 16th and 17th centuries. These trials cast a shadow that still lingers in our collective memory, marked by mass hysteria, persecution, and the execution of thousands. It was a time when the very word witch struck fear into the hearts of many. The witch hunts emerged with a ferocity in the late 16th century, sweeping across Europe and reaching the shores of colonial America. The term witch craze took on a chilling reality. Accusations spread like wildfire, often initiated by a single person's claim of being bewitched or encountering a suspected witch. Fear and paranoia gripped communities, leading to the arrest of numerous individuals, with women being the primary targets. In the pursuit of confessions, accused witches were subjected to torture, a gruesome practice meant to extract admissions of guilt. Torture methods included the strappado, waterboarding, and the infamous witch's chair. Under duress, many confessed to witchcraft, often implicating others in their desperate bid to end their torment. Trials were held in both secular and ecclesiastical courts, but the accused faced a grim fate. They were charged with heresy, witchcraft, and consorting with the devil. Trials were often biased against the accused, with scant legal protections and little regard for due process. Those found guilty of witchcraft met a grim end, typically by hanging or burning at the stake. These public executions were gruesome spectacles intended to deter others from practicing witchcraft. The Malleus Maleficarum, the Hammer of Witches, published in 1487, played a malevolent role in promoting these hunts. It provided guidelines for identifying, prosecuting, and punishing witches, fueling the hysteria that gripped Europe. A striking characteristic of the witch trials was the disproportionate number of women accused and persecuted. Misogyny and gender bias were deeply ingrained in the trials, with women often seen as more susceptible to witchcraft. The trials became a tool to enforce societal norms and subjugate women who challenged their prescribed roles. These trials were not mere isolated events but were shaped by social, political, and religious factors. Tensions within communities, economic strife, and the desire for control and conformity played a role. Accusations were sometimes used to settle personal vendettas or to target marginalized groups. Yet, as the centuries turned and Enlightenment ideas took hold, skepticism grew about the validity of accusations and the use of torture in trials. Enlightenment thinkers questioned the irrationality of the witch hunts, and changing societal norms contributed to the eventual decline of the witch trials. The legacy of the European witch trials endures as a dark chapter in history, characterized by mass hysteria, persecution, and the execution of countless individuals. These trials profoundly shaped the perception of witches during that era, associating witchcraft with heresy, devil worship, and malevolence. The trials also left a lasting legacy of fear and superstition surrounding the idea of witches, a legacy that persisted for centuries. But in the wake of this darkness emerged a new dawn, a modern understanding of witchcraft that transcends fear and superstition. In the contemporary world, witches have risen from the ashes, reclaiming their identity and crafting a new narrative. They have become symbols of empowerment, spirituality, and a connection to the natural world. In the far corners of the globe, the concept of witches has taken on diverse forms, each influenced by local beliefs, traditions, and historical contexts. These variations reflect the rich tapestry of global belief systems and spiritual traditions. Let us journey through these varied landscapes. In various African cultures, witchcraft takes on a multifaceted nature. It can encompass both malevolent and benevolent practices. Witch doctors or traditional healers are respected members of their communities, utilizing their knowledge of herbs and rituals for healing and protection. Accusations of witchcraft can lead to social ostracism and violence, but there are also efforts to protect individuals from false accusations. Native American cultures have their own forms of shamanism and spiritual practices, which may be seen as analogous to witchcraft in Western contexts. Shamans and medicine men/women play crucial roles in healing and spiritual guidance. Rituals, dances, and ceremonies are used to connect with the spiritual world and address various issues, including healing and maintaining balance. In countries like China and Japan, traditional folk beliefs incorporate practices similar to witchcraft, often involving divination, herbal remedies, and the invocation of spirits. These practices are a blend of religious and folk traditions, and practitioners are respected for their knowledge and abilities. Indigenous Australian cultures have their own spiritual practices and beliefs, often revolving around the dreamtime and a deep connection to the land. Some indigenous cultures have figures similar to shamans or wise elders who possess special knowledge and abilities in healing and guiding the community. Many Latin American countries have a tradition known as brujeria, encompassing folk magic, healing, and divination. Brujas and brujos, witches, are believed to possess supernatural powers, offering their services for various purposes, including love spells, protection, and curse removal. Within Europe itself, there are regional variations in the concept of witches. In Scandinavia, traditions like cunning folk involve folk magic for healing and protection. The idea of witches as malevolent individuals who consorted with the devil was more prevalent in parts of continental Europe during the witch trials. Modern witchcraft movements, such as Wicca and various neo-pagan traditions, have emerged in the 20th century. They draw from eclectic sources, including folklore, Western esotericism, and ceremonial magic. These movements emphasize nature worship, the veneration of the goddess, and the practice of rituals and spellcraft. In the tapestry of these diverse cultures and traditions, the concept of witches takes on different shades and forms. Witches may be perceived as healers, spiritual guides, or even as malevolent figures, depending on the cultural context in which they are situated. But let us not forget the stories of those who were accused and persecuted in the name of witchcraft. Women, especially, found themselves ensnared in the web of suspicion and superstition. Their roles were intertwined with societal norms and gender dynamics of their times. Many women in history played vital roles as healers and midwives, offering their knowledge of herbal remedies and assisting in childbirth. These skills made them valued members of their communities. However, their association with practices seen as magical or unconventional sometimes led to accusations of witchcraft. Women, particularly older women, were often more vulnerable to accusations of witchcraft. Widows, the poor, and those on the fringes of society were especially at risk. Social norms and economic disparities made these women targets, seen as outsiders and potential threats. Gendered stereotypes and prejudices played a significant role in the perception of witches. Women were often associated with weakness, emotional instability, and susceptibility to temptation. These stereotypes contributed to the belief that women were easily swayed by the devil and more likely to engage in witchcraft. Accusations of witchcraft were sometimes used to suppress women who exhibited signs of independence, assertiveness, or nonconformity. Women who challenged traditional gender roles or property norms could become targets of accusations. Those who displayed knowledge or skills outside of prescribed gender roles, such as herbalism or midwifery, were at particular risk. The witch trials were a dark reflection of the gender dynamics and power structures of their times. Women who refused to conform to societal expectations, or who were perceived as threats to established hierarchies, often paid a terrible price. Their stories serve as a stark reminder of the historical oppression faced by women and the dangerous consequences of challenging patriarchal norms. Despite these challenges, the legacy of the accused and persecuted witches endures as a symbol of resilience. Their stories have been reclaimed as part of the broader narrative of witchcraft, highlighting the strength and courage of those who stood accused in the face of ignorance and fear. As we continue to explore the multifaceted world of witches, it becomes clear that this concept is not static but fluid, shaped by cultural, historical, and social forces. The stories of witches, from healers and midwives to those accused and persecuted, reflect the ever-evolving relationship between humanity and the mystical forces that have captivated our imagination for centuries. In the present day, witches have undergone a remarkable transformation. They have emerged from the shadows of persecution to embrace new forms of spirituality, empowerment, and community. Witchcraft has evolved into a diverse and inclusive movement that transcends borders and boundaries. Modern witches are healers, activists, artists, and spiritual seekers, each crafting their unique path within the framework of witchcraft. In the age of information and social media, the practice of witchcraft has seen a resurgence. Online communities have become cauldrons of knowledge, where individuals share rituals, spells, and wisdom. The availability of information has made witchcraft more accessible to a broader audience, fostering connections among those who may have once felt isolated in their beliefs. Modern witchcraft movements, such as Wicca, emphasize the reverence of nature, the worship of a goddess, and the practice of magic. These movements promote inclusivity, celebrating diversity in gender, sexual orientation, and background. The witchcraft of today is characterized by a spirit of inclusivity and acceptance. Witches of the modern era often find inspiration in the natural world. They seek to reconnect with the rhythms of the earth, celebrate the changing seasons, and honor the cycles of the moon. The use of herbs, crystals, and other natural elements in their practices is a testament to their deep connection to the world around them. Rituals and spells, once seen as esoteric and mysterious, have become tools for personal growth, empowerment, and manifesting positive change. Witches use these practices to set intentions, heal, and create a sense of harmony in their lives. Feminist witchcraft movements have emerged, challenging patriarchal norms and celebrating the divine feminine. These movements recognize the power and wisdom of women, seeking to empower individuals to embrace their inner strength and intuition. In popular culture, witches have undergone a transformation as well. They are no longer relegated to the role of villains but have become complex and relatable characters. From the beloved Hermione Granger in the Harry Potter series to the enchanting Owen sisters in Practical Magic, witches are now heroines, embodying strength, resilience, and a deep connection to magic. In conclusion, the story of witches is a tale of transformation, resilience, and the enduring power of those who dare to embrace the mystical and explore the magic within and around them. From ancient pagan rituals to the dark days of witch hunts, and finally to the vibrant and diverse landscape of modern witchcraft, witches have woven themselves into the fabric of human history and continue to inspire and captivate our imaginations. They serve as a reminder of the enduring human quest to connect with the mysteries of the universe and to find empowerment and meaning in our journey through life.